Next, I'd like to introduce Attorney General Peter Neronha. Attorney General Neronha has made promoting open government a priority of his administration since assuming office in January, and we're grateful to have him here this morning to offer his welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Kate. This is the 21st summit. It's my first, and so the only person who could possibly screw it up is me. So I'll try to avoid that. Dean, thank you again for hosting us, and Karen and Ed, thanks for coming. I think it's really important that you share your perspectives with this group, because you're right. I think we're all sort of on the same team on this, because government transparency, government openness builds confidence in what we do as public officials. I've always felt like if there's a decision that I make that I can't explain or defend, then maybe I shouldn't be making that decision. And so I never, unless there's a really good reason to protect someone's safety or privacy, instinctively want to withhold information. I want to make my decisions public, and I want to explain what they are. It's why I almost never turn down an inquiry from the press to go on and speak to them. Not because I love seeing my name on my face on TV or being on the radio. Sometimes I don't sound like the smartest guy in the room, but I feel like I should be able to explain what I did, and the best person to be able to explain what I did is me. So that's sort of my overarching message to you is you're making good decisions. Do them in sunlight. Be in a position to explain them. And if you're not there yet, if you're not ready to explain them, then you're probably not ready to make them. These statutes are complicated. When I took over as Attorney General in January, one thing I knew was that I didn't understand these statutes in depth. I mean, the reality is I've never had to implement them personally. When I was United States Attorney, we had a FOIA unit in Washington, so if a request came in, it went down to D.C., and D.C. dealt with it. But I knew one thing. I said this to my folks, that I didn't want to die on the transparency hill. I knew that over the course of my tenure, that 4-year term, that there were going to be issues that came up where the decisions I made, I might be comfortable with them, but others would not be. And so those were the battles I knew I was going to have to fight. Try to explain to people what I did and why I did it. But where I didn't want there to be a lack of confidence was how I was handling openness and transparency. And so what I asked our folks to do is to rethink every decision that we made in the past. To rethink how we've done everything from the way we write decisions, and that's changed. It's been a subtle change, but if you've read those decisions, we've changed how we write them. But also to think about every fork in the road. Every fork in the road that comes up in interpreting these statutes. Because there are some things that are very clear as to what you can and what you can't do. And then there are things that aren't so clear. There are times when you're going to have to exercise your discretion. I think that's where the rubber meets the road. I wanted my people to rethink every time we're making for answering our own requests, particularly in the outer space, when we're thinking about those forks in the road, to err on the side of openness, to think whether or not we should be withholding this information. It's why we reversed course on Google Documents. To me, there was no reason to withhold those records at all, and so we shouldn't be withholding them, and we certainly shouldn't have been withholding them on a technicality as to whether something's a memorandum or not. I mean, that was the distinction. If a document said memorandum on it, then it could be withheld. The same information, if memorandum wasn't there, then it wouldn't be withheld. To me, that was a distinction without a difference, and that was not a fork in the road that we should choose to get down on the side of non-transparency. Those are the kinds of decisions you have to make. And those of you in public government, in public life and government. And I would encourage you to make them on the side of transparency. Getting back to the Google information, we put it in our annual report, and that was not by accident. Our annual report was issued around July 1st. I wanted people to see how we spent the money, how my predecessor, Attorney General Peter Neronha, spent the money. I think he spent it well. I think he spent it in ways that serve the public well. If you go to our 4 Howard Avenue complex where people get their PCI checks done, or where they get answers to consumer questions, or where they go into our diversion unit, you go to that building, that is serving the public really well in a space that they can access. That's a good use of the money. And we should share how we spend it. And if people have questions about it, they're entitled to those questions. We should be able to answer them. And we may not agree in the end, but we should be able to have that discussion. So to me, what it comes down to is you should think about You should ask the question that I used to ask when we were talking about cases for prosecution. We may be able to charge this case. It's the can we, should we question. Can we charge this person with this crime? But should we charge that person? That should always be a prosecutor's question, and it should always be the question in this case. Can we withhold? The answer may be yes, but you have to ask the next question, which is whether you should withhold. And so I'll leave you with that. That's the question we're asking ourselves inside the office when we're asked for public records. And I think you should be asking yourselves the same question. Here's the other thing. You know, whenever somebody from the press calls the office and is asking for something, when we're talking about how we're going to answer that question, I always have one of our APRA folks in the room. Always have one of my APRA folks in the room. I think it was Ed who said this, or maybe it was Aaron. If I know I'm going to turn it over eventually anyway under APRA, why aren't I just turning it over voluntarily? Why am I making it more difficult? Why am I shrouding something in secrecy in the first instance that's going to come out anyway? Why am I diminishing the confidence in me in the office that I can build by giving it voluntarily? I know many of you do this already, but that would be my advice to you, which is to turn over as much as you can, as voluntarily as you can, and you will build confidence in you and the decisions that you make. So again, welcome to all of you. And I want to thank my team before I go, because it's a strong group. Mike Field has done a great job here over the years, and the only reason he is not leading us today is because I promoted him, in part because of that good work. He's now a deputy chief in our civil division and is doing an outstanding job. Kate Sadek, you will come to know her if you don't know her already. I think the world of Kate. She and I started our long careers in the same place in Boston, so I have a special affinity for her, I suppose. She's also a DC grad like me, so that times two. She's doing a great job, and she is supported by Sheila O'Rourke and Sean Linus, and then Dylan Gallus as an administrative support person. But I would encourage you to reach out to them. One of the things that I said to a group of librarians in Jamestown, my hometown, I see some of my Jamestown friends here. I said to these librarians, you know, we deal with these issues, right? And you don't necessarily think about librarians having to deal with open government issues. Call the office. Ask for somebody in our open meetings group. They'll try to guide you to answering some of these knotty questions that aren't always easy to answer in the first instance. So thank you again for coming. I hope you have a great day here at Roger Williams. Stay cool this weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you very much.